So the first big time topic, and perhaps most central to this and that media, is the category of the deep state and CIA operations. So before getting into everything, as I have come to learn, it's quite clear that the United States government has fucked around quite a bit, but it has done so in order to become the superpower of the world. Uncle Sam has been forced to commit a number of atrocities in the pursuit of becoming the greatest empire humanity has ever known. It was Harvey Specter that once said, sometimes the good guys gotta do bad things to beat the bad guys. And although the line has certainly gotten quite blurry as to whether we are the pinnacle of democracy and freedom or an evil empire ruled by insidious authoritarianism and terroristic intelligence agencies perpetuating unnecessary war and unjust imperialism, I still believe the United States to be more morally righteous than most other countries. And so as a citizen of the US, I'm not researching the other superpowers of the world, I'm researching the stark history of my own country. We've never done anything nearly as bad as Mao Zedong, Hitler, or Stalin, and I'll go ahead and say right now that the US is unequivocally better and historically morally superior to China, Russia, and Germany. And although I'm about to go on a rampage of the craziest covert operations, inside jobs, global coups, and false flags, I am merely a critic outside the arena of my country's controversies as we continue to masquerade under the guise of being a model nation of justice. So just going to go ahead and be a bit of a tattletale on the US government in this Deep State Volume 1 segment. And, although the rabbit hole does indicate that our own government killed the most moral president of all time in JFK and likely orchestrated 9/11 for means of imperial expansion and world domination, I guess that's just how the game is played at the highest level. But let the record indicate that Matthew Tepedino is a patriot despite this next heinous half hour of absurdities. I don't want to hurt any feelings out there. I'm just trying to play the game the right way. And so this deep state category is going to explore government overreach, rogue intelligence agency activities, insane declassified covert operations, and the implications for democracy and freedom. Over the next 20 minutes, I'm going to outline some of the craziest operations and examples that have transformed my understanding of how the American government and world governments actually function. And to continue the disclaimer, I'll say that these opinions and interpretations are all my own. I'm just a kid with access to the internet coming to my own conclusions. And while my explorations of these topics can be seen as intense critiques of the American government and intel agencies, let it be known that I'm a staunch supporter of the American government and the CIA and the NSA, etc. And I understand that many of these controversial operations have been carried out in the name of national security and to establish the U.S. as the superpower of the world, and that the public has never been ready for this information to be released in a casual mainstream manner. And although some of these topics have gotten me censored already, and at one point I already got my TikTok banned, namely for posting about 9/11, false flag operations, and the free energy rabbit hole, I'm not looking to create enemies or become a rebel-rousing conspiracist by analyzing these topics. I'm only trying to document my learning process over the years and bring these ultra-important case studies deeper into public discourse and our collective human consciousness. This conversation is intended to promote critical thinking, about power structures and governance transparency, encouraging listeners to examine primary sources and form their own informed opinions about these complex and often controversial topics. And so for each of these examples and major historical events I'm about to run through, I have published essays with corresponding information catalogs with all the primary sources, books, articles, docs, pods, declassified CIA documents that have caused me to draw the conclusions I drew. I've synthesized all my published work in this category in a document titled CIA Black Ops and the Deep State Volume 1, Land of the Frauds and Home of the Brainwashed on my website and Substack, which acts as a master guide to the most explosive, censored, and unsettling truths in modern U.S. history. From my curated playlist on Spotify, YouTube, and Letterboxd, my collective posts on social sites, and links to all my essays, this is the ultimate centralized hub for exposing American intelligence agencies, black budget psyops, state-sponsored assassinations, false flag operations, and global coups. So explore the spreadsheet, read the essays, watch the footage. Every psyop has a blueprint, every lie has a ledger. This is yours. And so without further ado, I will start from least to most intense and go in the order of my own learning process. I'll start off with some of the operations that are pretty mainstream at this point. And if you want to look at my deep dives on these operations, just search them up on my website, thisandthatmedia.com.